Hello friends, today in this session we will study free energy and the relation between the chemical equilibrium. We know that for a spontaneous chemical change at a given conditions, so delta G must be negative. So let us take one reversible reaction. A plus B is giving C plus D this product. So with the progress of this reaction, what will happen? The free energy will decrease and the composition of this whole reaction mixture will changes gradually. And a stage will come, so when the composition of the reaction mixture will becomes a constant, that is the Q is equal to K. At that time we will use this law of chemical equilibrium. So this stage refers to equilibrium state, and in this G becomes very minimum. Minimum is that free energy change will be equal to 0. So for these type of reactions, I am drawing one graph for this reactions. Let us see how this becomes a 0. So we can see this is the graph, this is the free energy of the reactions, A plus B reactant, and it is decreasing. So at one point it becomes your minimum. Okay, so where this energy of the whole reactant product is almost equal to 0, and then it is going proceed product. So since this is a reversible reaction, this is going backward, forward, and this is going backward. So at this point, what happened? The free energy of this reactant and product both will be 0. So this is the plot of free energy of the extent of the reaction. And this is the equilibrium of the minimum curve. We can write that curve into two different ways. One is this way, one this way. So in which one curve is when it is this side, so this equilibrium is close to product side. This means the extent of reaction is going to the forward direction, means the value of K will be more than 1. It can be also come to this side also. So from this it is to this side, you can see here. So in this case we can see the extent of reaction is more towards the reactant side. So we can say that the minimum curve lies closer to curve, means product favored, and if the minimum curve is lie closer to reactant, the reaction favored reactant, means K will be less than 1. So reaction is farthest from the completion. So this is the meaning of between these two curves. Now let us see one example. So example is N2O4 in gaseous form converted to NO2. So this is equilibrium reaction and reversible. So in this free energy of the product minus some of the free energy of the reactant comes about plus 5.4 joules. You can see from this diagram. So this is the diagram of N2O4 is converted to nitrogen dioxide. So this is the E where the equilibrium free energy becomes 0. From the reactant it is coming to this much value, and for the product it is coming sum of this plus and this. So we will see G of a reaction mixture at equilibrium mixture is less than pure R or reactant product. Why? Because this is lowered by the 0.84 kilojoule. So it means when 1 mole of NTO4, changes into equilibrium mixture, then delta G naught is equal to minus 0.84 from the reactant. So this is given minus. So because this is going in forward direction. Similarly, when 2 moles of NO2 changes into equilibrium reaction, this is going backward. So minus 5.4 plus 0.8.4, so you have to add this and this value, so it will become minus 6.24, because this is going this direction, this is also spontaneous, and this is going this direction, this is also spontaneous. So forward is also spontaneous and backward is also spontaneous. In both cases delta G is negative, hence both the forward, that is as well as backward reactions are spontaneous. So this is the representation of the spontaneity of the forward as well as backward reaction in terms of diagram. Relationship between standard free energy and equilibrium constant. So for any reversible reaction like A plus B is giving C plus D, so this is the forward, this is the backward reaction. C plus D is going to A plus B. The free energy change and standard free energy change are related with each other according to the equation. This equation, this is the one of the mathematical equation. Delta G is equal to delta G standard plus RT natural log Q. What is Q? Q is the reaction constant, so and R is the 8.314 joule per Kelvin per mole, and it is equal to QP if R and P are gaseous states. If R reactant product both are in gaseous states, then this delta G is equal to Q is equal to QP, and if you are taking this quotient, that is the reactant product is in solution, then again this Q will be written as the QC, and at equilibrium what happens, delta G becomes 0, then this Q, you are taking gaseous state or solution state, this becomes your K, this becomes 0, means delta G naught is equal to RT natural log K, and delta G naught is equal to RT natural log K. This delta G minus RT natural log Kp means if you are taking for pressure, so it is called as the Van 't Hoff isotherm equation. So sometimes this is asked in the examination. But if you are taking Kc solution, this is not called as Van 't Hoff isotherm equation. This is called as Van 't Hoff. For Kp, it is called as Van 't Hoff isotherm equation. Alternatively, if you are taking this graph, so we can write K is equal to e to the power minus g naught by RT, or K equal to 10 to the power minus g naught by 2.303 RT. Further, we know that this delta G standard is equal to delta H standard minus T delta S standard. This we already derived from the second law of thermodynamics. So this G naught can be written as like this one. Just we have derived at equilibrium, and this is delta H naught minus delta T delta S. So natural log K will be equal to this value. This is the one of the equation number 4. Now, if the process is spontaneous, so definitely this delta G will be negative. So if this is negative, then K should be greater than 1. K means what? This is right. So this is negative, this will be greater than 1. If this is greater than 1, then this process is spontaneous. Now in this you can see delta GR is positive. So you can see from this graph, you can see here. So if delta GR is positive, let me write this one. Delta G naught is equal to minus RT natural log K. So here you can easily compare it. So if GR is positive, if this value is positive, definitely K will be less than 1. Then only this is positive. If this is 0, means K will be equal to 1. And if this is negative, this means K is always positive value. So if this is lesser than 1 value, this will be your positive. If it is more than 1 value, this is your negative. And if this is 0, this means K is equal to 1. So this is the condition for the spontaneous reactions with respect to K. Now we'll see what is the magnitude of K for exothermic and endothermic reaction. So strongly endothermic reactions, so we can see from this one only. If you take this graph, natural log K is equal to T delta S minus H naught by RT. So for strongly endothermic reactions, delta H must be positive. This must be positive. If this must be positive, then the large, positive plus large. So this is your positive also, this is also large also. Then natural log K will be has a smaller value. If this is a smaller and large value, a positive and large value, then definitely this natural log K will be your a small, and it has K has a small value. Similarly, if it is strong exothermic reaction, means delta H will be negative and large, then natural log K will also have a large value. Then K has very large value. This means the reaction will ultimately almost goes to completion. So this is the main significance of that reaction. Now we see one of the additional or supporting topic, that is called coupled reaction. Supporting topics. Many of the certain reactions are non-spontaneous. This means that their delta G during the process will be positive or greater than 0. So we can convert those non-spontaneous reactions into the spontaneous reaction. How? By coupling to other reaction, which means these reactions becomes again after coupling with non-spontaneous. So it's spontaneous means delta G will be negative. This means that original reactions become feasible by adding the other reaction whose already delta G is negative. It means that the total delta G will be nothing but the sum of delta G of the second reaction and the original reaction is negative. So in the presence of that reaction where delta G is negative, the non-spontaneous reactions becomes your spontaneous. Let us see one example. So this is non-spontaneous reaction. This is conversion of Fe2O3 into FeO plus oxygen, iron plus oxygen, not O, this is iron, oxygen. So this iron oxide converted into this solid state plus gas. So this is a non-spontaneous reaction. We can convert this whole reaction into spontaneous. How? By using a reducing agent. So this is a reducing agent which is spontaneous. CO plus O will give you CO2. So when this is coupled with this reaction together, so we will get this equation. Now this equation means this equation is a spontaneous. Means you can see by using the calculating the value, delta G of this value is how much? For this much is delta G of a spontaneous reaction is 514.4. So if you multiply it by 3, so take the product of this one, this minus this product minus this one, so you will get the value minus 56.2 kilojoule per mole. Product of the delta G of the product minus delta G of the reactant. So we will get this value. So we can write that F2O3 can be reduced to iron by carbon monoxide spontaneously, and overall value of delta G naught is negative. So this concept of coupled reaction or coupling two reactions, one is the spontaneous, other is non-spontaneous, very useful in the biological system. Generally, let us take one example like ATP react with the water to form this ADP plus phosphate, and this is your spontaneous reaction. Biosynthesis of sucrose from the glucose and fructose is non-spontaneous. So when ATP is combining with the coupling with the this one hydrolysis of ATP, then this reaction of sucrose from the glucose and fructose will be synthesis sucrose from the glucose and fructose will become spontaneous. We can see glucose by fructose converted to sucrose, and this reaction is whole spontaneous, where the delta G is for this much 23 minus 31. So this is your, you can see positive value is a negative value. Subtracted, you will get the overall value is negative. So now this reaction will become spontaneous. Variation of free energy with temperature and pressure. So we will derive one value how G is vary with temperature and pressure. So by definition, G is equal to H minus T delta S, and H is equal to U plus PV. So we can write this U plus PV over here, so U plus PV plus minus T delta S. So if you differentiate this equation, so delta G is equal to, this will be delta U, this will be P dV plus V dP, and this will be your minus T ds minus S dt. If you take the very small change in the reversal pressure, so delta U is equal to delta Q plus dQW, and dQ is can be written as the du plus P dV, and dW is minus P dV. So we can substitute this value in this equation. So ds is equal to dq by dt. So if you use it dq by dt, so we can write dq is equal to tds. So this is one equation, this is another equation. So by comparing second and third, so you can compare it. So dq is du plus p dv, and dq this much. So you can write tds is equal to du plus p dv. So this is equation 4. Now this tds is this much value. So this tds value, this value we can put in equation 1. So if you put it equation 1, you can TDS is over here. So you can see du plus PdV, VdP, and this is become du plus PdV, this value, minus S dt. So by cancelling this one, this one, this one, and this one, so you will get finally this relationship. That is the G is equal to VdP minus S dt. This is the value. Now if the pressure is constant, then delta G is equal to minus S delta T. Definitely means we can write this equation. And if temperature constant, we can write dG equal to VdP, or this is the equation. So both equations are very, very important. It is in deriving the temperature coefficient of the EMF of a cell. We will use this value. That is to find the temperature coefficient of the cell. So we'll see later on. Delta G in isothermal process, where the temperature constant. We will find one value. When the temperature constant, what is the value of delta G? So by definition, G is equal to H minus Ts, and H is equal to U plus PV. So if you substitute this value over here, you will get this equation. But du plus PdV is dQ. So if you substitute here, so this becomes a delta G is equal to dQ plus VdP minus T ds and STT, and ds is equal to dQ dt. So TDS is equal to TDS equal to dQ. So we can substitute dq plus vdp, and this is whole value is equal to dq minus sdt. So if you cancel it, you will get again this equation that we have previously derived. So in isothermal chain, dt is equal to 0. So we can, if it is 0, then we can add dg is equal to vdp, and this is equal to v is equal to nRT by p. But from the ideal gas equation, we can substitute this value over here. Then this becomes your nRT by dp upon p. So if you integrate it, you will get this equation. Delta G is equal to nRT P1 to P2 dP by P, and finally we get nRT natural log P2 by P1. So we will get two equations. One is in the form of P2 by P1, and since PV is inversely proportional to P, so we can again write delta G is equal to nRT natural log V1 by V2. So we are getting two form of equation when the process isothermal. Now we will see one more concept, that is called Clausius-Clapeyron equation, which is called as nothing but the temperature dependence of the vapor state. So this is a relationship between the temperature of liquid and its vapor pressure, that is not a straight line. So what kind of line is this? The vapor pressure of the water that is increases significantly more rapidly than the temperature of the system. So vapor pressure always increases rapidly than the temperature of the system if you increase its temperature. And this behavior is explained with the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Why it is increases with increase the temperature of the system. So this is the equation given by the Clausius-Clapeyron, that is the d natural log P upon dt is equal to enthalpy of evaporation by RT square. So where the P is equal to this P is nothing but the vapor pressure of a liquid. Vapor pressure, we know that the pressure of the vapor which is converted into liquid at equilibrium. So rate of evaporation is equal to rate of condensation at this equilibrium. According to equation, the rate at which the natural logarithm of the vapor pressure of a liquid changes with temperature is determined by the molar enthalpy of evaporation of the liquid. So this will change when the molar enthalpy of evaporation of liquid is changed, where the R and temperature of the system are given. So all this will change, then the vapor pressure of the liquid will also change with temperature. If this enthalpy of evaporation does not depend on temperature of system, if it does not depend on temperature of system, then this above equation means this equation is written in the integrated form like this one, where C is constant we can write in this form, and this form equation is used to measure the enthalpy of evaporation of a liquid form. So we can draw this graph like a plots of natural log of the vapor pressure versus temperature. So we will see it after this one. So let us first derive this equation. Let us consider two phases A and B of the same component in equilibrium with each other at constant temperature, constant pressure. So A and B are two phases of the same component. So one may be liquid, other may be gas. So let's take 1 mole of substance B transferred from phase A to phase B. So we are taking 1 mole. So delta G of this will be your nothing but the useful. So A to B means change in delta will be minus GB minus GA. So bus system is still in the state of equilibrium. So hence no useful work is obtained from it. So delta G is 0. So GB minus GA will be equal to 0. So we can say GB is equal to G. This is one equation number 1. So hence at equilibrium and constant pressure and temperature, the molar free energy of the same substance remains the same in each phase. In each phase, this molar enthalpy will be same. That is enthalpy of A will be equal to enthalpy of the B. Now if you increase little temperature, so temperature and pressure, so temperature increased by delta T dt and pressure increased by the dP. Means we are increasing infinitesimally, very small change in temperature and pressure in the system. Then what will happen? The G will also increases by Ga equal to dGa, and dB of the another gas will be also equal to dGb. Again increases. So since system is still in equilibrium, if you increase little, so it will still be it will be in equilibrium. So we can write already Ga is equal to Gb. So on increasing free energy, this is dGa is equal to dGb, and again if you cancel this, dGa is equal to dGb. So we can write this equation into VA dP minus SA dt, and this we can write as VB dP minus SP dt. This we already derived from this equation, that is the dG equal to VdP minus SDT. So instead of this equation we are writing A and B format. So now take this A value this side and this value this side, so we will get this equation. So again if you divide by dt, so on dividing by dt, so dP by dt, so this you will get this equation, and this equation nothing but the delta S by delta B. So carefully see it, you will get this equation definitely. So this is equation number 2. Now delta S is equal to delta H by T, and therefore dP by dt, so we can delta by dt will be delta H by T into V, so delta V. So delta H by T will be VB minus VA. Now from when the condition phase solid to liquid is converting at equilibrium, so dP by dt will equal to delta HF, this is the rate of heat of fusion, minus vapor volume of the vapor minus volume of the solid. Similarly, when it is converting from liquid equilibrium, so dP by dt can be written as the delta heat of evaporation by T, the V of evaporation minus V of the solid. So in this case, the volume of the vapor is very, very high than the volume of solid liquid. So this will be almost equal to vapor. So we will take only vapor, liquid is ignored. So we can write dP by dt is equal to delta H vapor by T into this volume of the evaporation. So this volume nothing but the nRT by P, this is the volume of the vapor. So we can write like this. So dP by dt is nothing but the dHP by nRT square by P. Or we can carefully write dP by, this P will go this side, dP by T. So delta H by nR T square, this will go this. So this is the one equation. This equation nothing we can convert into this form. So this is nothing but the dP by P, P1 to P2, and this is delta H by nR, and this is we can write dt by T square into T1 to T2. So we can see this equation dP by P is nothing but the natural log P2 by P1, and this is delta H vapor nR natural log. This can be written as a 1 by T, T2 minus T1. So we can convert delta H vapor nR natural log 1 by T2 minus 1 by T1. So this is the Van't Hoff equation. So natural log is delta H vapor by Nr natural log 1 by T, or we can write this in the form of a straight line. So natural log P is equal to delta H vapor by Nr 1 by T, where M is the slope. So this is the, we can say this is the slope M and this is the X. So we can draw a graph like this also. This is the natural log P versus 1 by T we can draw. So this is the slope of the graph. This is a positive value. So we can write log of P2 by P1 is equal to delta heat of evaporation by 2.303 Nr and 1 by T1 minus T2. So it is not T1 minus T2. Yes, it will be T2 minus, no, it's correct. It will be T1 minus T2. That's correct. It will be your, if this is P2 by P1, T2 minus T1, it is your, so here you make a one correction. This will be your minus sign and this is your minus sign, because if you take a 1 by T, this will be minus comes. So this will be your again minus. So just make a correction, somewhat wrong. Okay, so here we also minus, the graph will be there. Just make a correction. Application. So we this is used for using to calculate the latent heat of evaporation. To calculate, you can calculate the boiling point or freezing point. Even you can calculate the vapor pressure of the liquid at different temperature. To calculate the molar elevation and molar depression constant. So this is the K value, and this is 0.002 T square by L, and this is M by L RT square by 1000. So the K has two different values. So this L is latent heat per gram and this capital L is latent heat per mole. So let us see some numerical based on this Vent Hoff equation. What is the boiling point of the water at 3 atmospheres? So we can use this Clapeyron equation. Log P2 by P1 equal to delta heat of evaporation by 2.303 Nr 1 by T1 minus T2. So pressure is given 3, atmospheric pressure is 1, and delta H of evaporation 540. This is for 1 gram. So for 18 gram, this is the per mole, and R value 2, and temperature is given boiling point 373, and T2 we have to find out. So if you solve it, on solving you will get the answer. T2 is equal to 404.2 Kelvin. This question you try yourself. The vapor pressure of water is 1 atmosphere at 373 Kelvin and heat of evaporation 40.7 kJ per mole. Estimate the vapor pressure at temperature 363 Kelvin and 383 Kelvin respectively. So you will get answer at 363 the pressure will be 0.697 atmosphere, and at 383 pressure, at this temperature the pressure will be 1.409 atmosphere. So just you try this question, and with the help of Clapeyron equation you will get just this value. We will see one more numerical. The vapor pressure of ice at 268 and 273 Kelvin are 2.965 and 4.56 torr respectively. Estimate the heat of sublimation of ice. Again use the Clapeyron equation. Pressure is given, P2 is given, P1 is given. Heat of sublimation we have to find out. N is given, R is given, T1 minus T2 is given. If you solve it, you will get this much answer, that is P2 1.807 kJ per mole. So I have given you steps, you can note it down, you will get the same answer. Now we will see Gibbs energy and the temperature coefficient of EMF of the cell. We know this relationship, delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta C. And again we know, we have derived earlier that delta G is equal to V delta P minus S delta T during the isothermal process, in which if you keep the pressure constant, then delta G is equal to S delta T, or minus S is equal to delta G by delta T. So we have to use this concept and you put this value over here. So this S is nothing but the delta S. So we can substitute this delta G minus delta D upon T. So this will be your minus delta S. So delta S can be written as the in this form. So delta G by delta T at constant pressure will be equal to this. So minus sign will be equal to plus. And delta G is equal to minus N into F into EMF of the cell. External EMF of the, this is the formula. So we can write, and delta S is equal to this value. So we know this value, this value. So again we can write delta S is equal to, so we can substitute this. So delta G is equal to N, so we can substitute this value over here. This becomes NFE by change in temperature, partial change in temperature at constant pressure. So we can write NF, so this is the constant value, keep outside, this becomes delta E naught by delta T. So delta S by NF is this value or dE naught by dt. So this whole value is called as the temperature coefficient of the EM of the cell. So this is very useful in finding the free energy of the cell electrochemical cell. So we'll see some numericals in the numerical sections.